Thanks everyone for joining today. We're so excited to have you with us to talk about decoding online shopping, consumer trends for e-commerce in 2024, which is AB Tasty's latest research report. Before we get started, I just want to cover a few housekeeping tips for everybody to remember. There's a chat and a question bubble in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You're welcome to use those to engage with us throughout the presentation, ask any questions, or leave any comments that you have. Secondly, this is being recorded, and we'll share the recording out afterwards if you happen to miss a little bit of it or want to share it with anyone. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll introduce you to ourselves today. John, I'll let you go first.
Thanks, Mary Kate. My name is John Hughes, and I'm in charge of the marketing for the UK for AB Tasty.
And my name's Mary Kate Cash. I am John in North America. I'm in charge of all marketing in North America for AB Tasty. Just a little bit about AB Tasty before we get started, in case you haven't heard of us before. We are the optimization partners pushing brave ideas from the inside out. You may be asking, what does that mean and how do you do that? And those are great questions. So we are an experience optimization platform. Our goal is to help you inch closer to the individual. And we use methods like content personalization, emotional segmentation, one-to-one search, product recommendations, AI-powered segmentation, and experimentation for you to use on your digital experiences to help you provide the best experience possible for each of your customers.
So this is AB Tasty's consumer report for 2024, and I just want to give you some details of like what that consists of and who are the people that we spoke to. So we surveyed 4,000 people across the US, the UK, Germany, France, and Australia. And one of the main criteria for anyone who took part was that they had to have made an online purchase in the last 3 months, and we wanted to understand a lot of different aspects of their behavior. So we look at what their habits were, what influenced them, what things got in the way of them making a purchase. We wanted to look at privacy and data usage. We wanted to ask them about AI, and we wanted to ask them about personalization. So with that in mind, let's dive in and see what the results were and what they can tell us about digital trends for 2024. One of the first questions that came up is, where do you usually start your online shopping? Top of the list for where consumers search for products is, of course, Google, really emphasizing to brands the importance of SEO and paid into their mix. What we get as the second most popular is actually brand website. And I think this is really interesting for companies who are looking to work on brand loyalty or retention or anything like that, where shoppers will immediately think of a certain brand if they're looking for a certain product. And that really emphasizes, again, the importance of search on a company website when it comes to consumers. And as a reminder of the importance of investing in mobile apps is the third most popular starting point for consumers to search for any product that they want. The survey really showed that when it comes to behaviors, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. And when it comes to what people want online from their shopping experience, there are many different things. And we had pretty equal statistics for many different patterns of behavior. So let's take a look at them. 28% were what you could call confident shoppers, right? So they know what they want and they just want to get the job done. 22% of those people which we surveyed were review orientated. So they were looking for social proof, or they were looking for reviews of that product. 21% said they wanted to compare products before making a decision, and 19% said that product details were essential when deciding. These results can beg the question for many e-commerce marketers: what exactly do I put on my website or my product page to please all of these different users? And a little later in this webinar, we're going to go and look at personalization strategies that you can use to please these different audiences. based on their behavior on your site, because achieving a seamless experience for these different needs can be met if you start to segment your users, but more on that a little bit later.
Thanks. Yeah, so we asked respondents to also reflect on what influences them the most to make a purchase online, ranking the following options shown here on your screen on a scale of 1 to 6, with 1 being the most influential and 6 being the least influential. And here is how they answered. Online shoppers don't make purchases in a vacuum. Many influences can sway their decisions. For some, it might be brand and reviews, like John just mentioned. And for others, it might be service or rewards. But no matter the perfect combination of influences, a strong experience optimization strategy can help you personalize product and checkout pages to cater to everyone's influences and get them to complete a purchase. Again, here's a breakdown of the same data that we just looked at, but segmented out by generation. Interestingly enough, Gen Z favors reviews over other factors, and all other generations favor discounts and gifts. I know we often talk about Gen Z as being, very heavy into social media. I think that, that lends itself a lot to product reviews, not in the traditional sense of being left on the product page, but on platforms like TikTok or Instagram. And so that kind of makes sense. Having a clear way for Gen Z shoppers to find reviews for a product can help them validate their choices and continue on the purchasing journey with confidence, while offering free shipping to loyal customers might help with these other generations. You could also offer an incentive like free shipping on a future order with the completion of a review to serve both top influences and help build that customer loyalty.
And the things that frustrate different generations are also different depending on who you speak to. So again, you can see here that both for Generation Z and X, a slow loading website is their biggest turnoff. But the sticking points for millennials are too many pop-ups, and for boomers, there is a fixation on shipping costs, so they want to see those as cheap as possible. What would you make your return? What would make you return for another purchase? So here we're looking at customer loyalty as a top priority, and it's a top priority for lots of companies at the moment. And we can see that many customers begin their search on a brand website like we saw before. So this question is really pertinent. What would make you return once again for another purchase? By far the biggest answer was discounts. So again, brands could start to think about exclusive discounts for returning visitors or people on a loyalty scheme. And second, I think this is also key, and that's good customer service, right? That's put as the second one. Good customer service is remembered, and bad customer service can be a major factor in someone not coming back, but also telling people about your brand. Afterwards, we get loyalty points, we get easy website navigation, relevant email offers. These results show the importance of creating customer loyalty in a highly competitive environment. So we have millions of choices, but the combination of incentives and exceptional service will guide customers back to your brand time and time again.
We talk all the time about how competitive it is for brands out there. The barrier to entry for new brands is relatively low compared to 10, 15 years ago. And legacy brands have had to heavily invest in digital transformation to keep up with Instagram and TikTok famous brands. The other part of this challenge is that consumers know that competition is out there. If they don't find what they want from you, they can and will go somewhere else. And that's why many consumers want brands to reward their loyalty, as we see here. They are choosing you, and they know that they can go anywhere else, and they want you to recognize that. They want to be seen. Now, there are many different ways to reward loyalty. That's going to depend on your brand, you're offering your audience. But the bottom line is that customers want a more personal experience. They want a commitment from brands to understanding and responding to individual preferences of customers that are going to foster that deeper connection. We asked shoppers about the biggest factor that influences them to leave a website without purchasing items in their carts, and the top answer might surprise you. 34% of respondents said that their biggest factor for leaving their cart was their payment method not being accepted. With the rising popularity of digital wallets with Apple Pay and Google Pay, as well as pay over time options like Klarna, Stripe, Afterpay, keeping up with these popular payment methods that reduce purchase anxiety or can streamline the shopping experience can help solve a problem for about a third, more than that, of your shoppers. The next most popular answer was that they weren't ready to buy. I know I'm guilty of this. I like to window shop, put things in my cart, think about it, maybe come back and buy it, wait for a sale, who knows. So 23% of respondents are answering that they're not ready to buy, whether they're waiting for the price of an item to drop or if they're still comparing other options. There are many ways that you can encourage shoppers to come back with personalized retargeting. Understanding where they are in their journey, whether they're in the research phase or they're ready to buy, can inform these targeted strategies so that you can re-engage those customers more effectively. Optimizing the checkout process is absolutely critical. Improvements that you make closer to the end of the funnel have a way bigger impact than improvements that you make at the top of funnel. All of these improvements are important, but alleviating the frustrations at the end of the funnel can make for bigger gains.
So let's look at information you'd be comfortable sharing when creating an account online. This is also sort of about frustrations or about friction and so on. We all know that there's kind of an onset of stricter consent laws going on, and we also know about third-party cookies, and there's some talk about whether Google are going to actually put that further down the year, but it's still coming at some point. So consumers are craving transparency and they're craving protection when they're shopping online. They're also looking for improved interactions with brands. So what, if anything, are they willing to trade for a better online shopping experience? So 70% of our respondents answered that they would be okay sharing their email address. Full name and gender were also deemed acceptable to divulge for 64% and 58%. But interestingly, one they are least comfortable with, and it links back to what Mary Kate just showed us before, is card information. So this really plays into shopping carts and how to make the process seamless. Areas where it can, the wallets that Mary Kate spoke to, or where it can remember your card, can perhaps make it easier for people if they're not typing out their card details when they're doing it. More on data here. When we asked what would motivate people to share more information online, people answered that they need reassurance that their data will be stored securely and protected, and that they wanted to have a very clear understanding of how it is used. So again, different signs to people here that by proactively addressing consumer concerns around data privacy and offering tangible benefits for those who do share their information, you can start to foster trust and you can enhance your relationship with customers.
As John just talked about, things are a little up in the air in terms of the timeline for Chrome phasing out cookies, but whether that is happening this year in, I think they said October, sometime in Q3, Q4, whether that happens early next year, we need to be thinking about it right now. And a big issue with the demise of the cookie is that we need to figure out how we should be handling anonymous visitors. That's a whole chunk of traffic that is very hard to identify and understand how to personalize if you don't have the right tools. So what we want to be able to do is use first party and zero party data to turn those anonymous visitors into known visitors. And there's a lot of ways that you can use experimentation to try to figure out the best way to obtain that information and then turn those into actionable profiles. So we want to be able to leverage that data the best way that we can so that then we can personalize using that data. So we want to transform first-party data into actionable profiles. We also have pre-built audience templates that we can build based on behavior. So even if we don't know exactly who they are, if they're acting a certain way, we can still bucket them in with other people who are also acting similarly. And then also integrate through other sources. If you have a CDP or a DMP or a data warehouse or a data layer or wherever you're keeping all of this data, we want to have it all in one place so that we can have the least amount of anonymous traffic as possible.
So let's think about some of the different responses that we saw earlier in some of the different generations that were frustrated by different aspects of company sites, or where we saw how different shoppers wanted very different sets of information when it came to purchases. And also some of the things Mary Kate just spoke about in terms of where your segmentation is coming from or where your data is coming from. How can we start to personalize online in a more specific way? And we suggest that it's actually a combination of these four different parts that you see on this slide. So companies are often segmenting by data sets such as location, gender, previous purchase, product type, all the things that we basically see on the right-hand side of this slide. But to go further, we can also bring in this idea of engagement, right? So what content are they looking at? And the top part of the left-hand side, what are their emotional needs? Do they want to see those reviews? Are they looking for product details? And what kind of buyer are they? And what triggers them to buy? And that's where Emotions AI comes in, which is a unique feature on A/B Tasty, which is about personalization that allows you to understand your visitors before they've even engaged with any forms or any data entry points on your site. And it means you can start to speak to your audience's needs at speed, and you can get improved customer segmentation, targeted content delivery, optimize user journeys, and you can increase engagement and conversion rates. 80% of decision-making is handled emotionally by our brain, right? And we justify it afterwards by rational reasons. And we can definitely, as we say on this slide, think of the customer journey itself on your website as a series of micro decisions or even emotional decisions. The act of purchasing online is a situation in which we make multiple micro decisions, and almost all of the purchases we make, whether they're simple or complex, are also guided by our emotions. So to succeed with this, we have to kind of think about what kind of visitor we have on our website. Do we have a rational visitor, right? That, as we can see, is going to want to just look at the products here? Or do we have a more intuitive visitor who's going to be emotionally engaged and they want to look at a model, or they want to look at whatever product in some sort of detail where it's got some sort of engagement? Both approaches require us to understand what kind of visitor it is and what are the triggers which will make them react. And that's where Emotions AI comes in, because this is where we can start to understand different behavior on your website by the way somebody is actually scrolling online.
So with Emotions AI, we dug into trying to understand these emotional triggers among visitors, and we identified 10 main triggers, which are essentially how people are thinking about buying certain products. For instance, the need to feel safe, the need to understand, to feel comfortable, need for security. And for each of us as humans have all of these needs, but it depends on what we're doing at any given moment where we lean on one more than another. So emotions AI detects exactly that, the main emotional need of each visitor. It's detected in real time after about 30 seconds of browsing without any third-party data or cookie information. And it's based on the analysis of their behavior, device configuration, and things that we can tell very quickly without needing, as John said, any input from them. So I know we talked earlier on a slide about what consumers were looking for, and it was a pretty even split between I am a confident shopper, I usually browse, I tend to read a lot of reviews. Uh, that's going to also depend on what it is that the person is buying. If I've broken my computer mouse and I just need to go replace it, I'm going to approach that shopping trip a lot different than when I'm logging on to an airline to try to book a flight. I need to make sure the times work for me. Maybe I'm a little price sensitive and I'm comparing. But those two shopping trips, I'm going to rely on different emotional needs to be met in order to complete those transactions. It also could depend on my budget. It could depend on whether it's for me or I'm shopping for a gift. All of these things play into how we approach making purchases from an emotional standpoint. So here we have an example of a campaign that a customer ran that's stress marketing, which again, might work for some people, might not work for other people. So let's dig into this a little more. On this mobile site, there is a banner that says, act quickly, we're running out, stock is low. We only have a few left, something along those lines. So that's going to really play into visitors that have a need for competition, but not play well with visitors that have a need for security. So by implementing this as a test, we can see that if we run this full time for people that fall into that need for competition bucket, we're going to have a 9% increase in conversion. But we also want to suppress that for people who have a need for security, because that's going to make them freak out and leave. And so this customer saw a $6 million increase in incremental revenue running this over the course of a year. Had we not run it at all, of course, we're looking at a 0% increase in conversion rate. So there's definitely gains to be made. And that's going to bring us to the end of our presentation. We have a lot more examples. If you're interested in hearing more, we encourage you to reach out to us at any of these channels. So I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for taking the time to watch this and spend this time with us. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, everybody.